Greetings, brothers and sisters. I wanted to. I got a bunch of stuff to get to. I want to cover more of this Richmond north of Richmond. It's a damn shame. A damn shame song. And Chris Webby's rap version about this, somebody sent me. I want to get into that. Revisit the year of the boop it. And, I haven't talked about it, but it's been really, it's really been the year of the boop it. Boop. And then I want to get into the Trump, the debacle around Trumps or the hoax or whatever you want to call it. The sham of Trump's, his mugshot. But I want to start off I want to set the tone here with this wonderful comment. I got to find it. I think I have a few of them. And there's a great comment I want to say. This isn't the comment I want to get to, but I want to go in hard on a comment. But one of my viewers sent me this, and I didn't understand I didn't know what video the person was commenting to. And so the person said, what did I do to deserve this? And then underneath it says, the poll. And this was to a video entitled, Britney Gives Herself a Poll as a Divorce Gift. So I got a kick out of that. That was funny. But this is not it. Let's see if I find the other one here. There's some stuff about Trump. I got a bunch of comments to get to probably at the end of the video as well. Not that one. Yeah, here it is. It was the most recent one. I should have checked this one first. And the person says, Paul, this is me, addressing me. I'm Paul. Paul, you lost all credibility and trust with me. Trust with me when you told us you got COVID. I've covered numerous comments like this in the past that were centrally around the COVID part, right? And then I've covered people saying I'm unsubscribing, but I want to lay into the first part of this comment. I'll get to the COVID piece. That's not as important. But let's get into the first piece here, right? And so this person writes, Paul, you lost all credibility and trust with me. So those are two different things. First of all, you're an inarticulate MNFer, right? The way that you should have phrased this, if you were able to communicate, you were like an adult and you could use the English language appropriately. I don't know if you're not educated. This person's not educated properly, or just a dumbass, or emotional, or drunk. I don't know. But the way that you should have said this, and again, I'm not a grammar police, but just in terms of your ability to communicate with other people, you would say, Paul, I don't trust you, and I don't find you credible anymore, which is basically saying the same thing twice. And so saying what the person said, I have to look at it again here, saying what they said here, Paul, you lost all credibility and trust with me. Now, you take out either one of the two words, Paul, you lost all credibility with me. That, kind of, that's okay. Like, it's a little bit, it's not worded great. But saying, Paul, you lost all trust with me, that doesn't make any sense, right? Again, it was worded poorly. And so if the person had said, Paul, I don't trust you anymore, and I don't find you credible, those are two separate things. Now, credibility is more of a collective thing. And people can say you're not credible anymore, and that's fine. And they can say, I don't trust you anymore, and that's fine too. That's perfectly okay. You can say that if you want. You can feel that. That's up to you. It has nothing to do with me. If I say something and you think I violated your trust, right? But why are you saying that, right? Why is this person saying that? Because you want me to reverse my position. You want me to censor myself, and you want to control what I say and how I think and my own experience. I've talked about the selfishness of these COVID deniers, what I call them the flubies, the selfishness of these flubies, that they want me to deny the, COVID, which I had 3 times, 3 different versions, and I hadn't had the flu in years. Like, I've only had the flu a couple of times. It was nothing like what I had with COVID. And I've still had to deal with some of the ramifications of COVID. Many of us have. And for all these people who saying that if we say our truth, that we got sick with something that we think is a biological weapon, many of us. That's what I think. And I've been dealing with it. It's part of my reality. And because, they got something wrong, they believe something that's not true, and they're weak and they're pathetic and weak in their own belief system, right? Because this is what happens. Because they found me credible. They trusted me and found me credible. And when I said I had COVID, they were caught between their idiotic belief that, and it maybe wasn't an idiotic belief at first, but now it is. Enough of us have had COVID that it had severe enough cases that we know it's not the flu. And if you had it like I had it, and, I don't want to wish that on anybody, but, I wouldn't mind if all the flubies got a taste of COVID, just so they would realize how stupid they were, but they'll never realize how, stubborn and stupid and pathetic they are. Because it's one thing to say, okay, I don't think COVID's real, because that's a legitimate idea with what we deal with the government and you can say that. There's nothing wrong with that. That you should have doubt in the official story, sure. If the official story says one thing, then you need to doubt it because it's untrustworthy liars that are putting out the official story. That's perfectly fine. But as the evidence rolls in, and then people that you find credible and that you trust say, yeah, I had it and it sucked, then it's not a slam dunk. But instead of admitting that you might be wrong, that you don't know for sure, you have no way of proving it, and you've been listening to a bunch of dopes on the internet tell you things that aren't true, and that somebody that you've trusted and you find credible says something, that it might, just open your mind to the possibility that COVID is real. You don't have to jump on board the COVID bandwagon, but you could be like, all right, maybe I didn't know, just relax and be open-minded about it. You're not losing anything. I'm not selling you anything. I'm not selling you a subscription to COVID. I'm not monetizing COVID, right? But you didn't do that. You turned on me and you were like, whatever. Oh my God, he must be a shill then. That's how simple-minded and weak you are as your mind and your thought process. Like I must be the problem. That your belief in COVID not being real and the dopes you've been listening to on the internet have been telling you they have a slam dunk, and because you're not flexible enough to admit you're wrong and be mature enough to say, yeah, I don't know for sure, maybe whatever. But you have to turn on me or whatever in your own mind. This is I don't know. I don't know you. I don't care. But in terms of what you do inside yourself in your own inner belief system, you have to turn. Oh my God, this guy's lost credibility and trust with me, which is fine. Again, that's you're weak emotionally, you're butthurt, whatever. That's your reaction. That's your privilege. You can have that reaction and just effing go away. It's better for both of us. But then you have to drop this on me. You have to get me involved in your crazy whatever it is, this immature and dysfunctional internal process you're going through. You have to bring me into it. You have to get me involved in the thing and write a comment like this. Again, I don't care. It's not like it'll hurt my feelings because I don't even know you. Which I'll get into in a moment. But you have to drag me into this thing, which is unbelievably selfish. So you're either trying to get me to censor myself, or the person's just trying to, zap me and make me feel bad about myself or whatever because I told everyone I had COVID. Which makes it harder for me to just go out there and tell the truth to people. I mean, if I was hurt, which I'm not, right? But if when you do this to people, you're saying, I want you to, not talk about certain things. I want you to think of before you talk because we can't handle it when you say things that we disagree with. Everybody who leaves a comment like that, that's what they're saying. This hurt me, and so I want to hurt you and make sure that you think twice before saying something that hurts my feelings. But the problem is you've monetized, and your view of my credibility, you've monetized them. You've turned them into a currency that I don't accept, right? You're trying to make them into a currency where your trust in me and your opinion of my credibility have some value to me, and they don't. I don't care whether you think I'm credible, and I'm not trying to win your trust or earn your trust. I'm not selling you something. I don't want something from you. I just go out, I just, talk to myself on the mic, which I'm doing here. My dogs are here, but they're not listening to me. And, I have plenty of credibility and trust with them. And for you, I don't want to earn your trust. In fact, I don't want it. Like, I don't want people to trust me. I don't want you to trust me, right? It's like something where I don't want to be responsible for your decisions or any of these things. Like, I've said this over and over again. And I don't care if you find me credible or not. You're welcome to leave any time you want. Like, that's, I've made that perfectly clear. So you saying something like that, you're just embarrassing yourself because you think you have leverage when you don't in the relationship. You've misunderstood the relationship here, that I value your trust and whether you think I'm credible or not. Like, I don't. It should be clear to you all, right? When you say, oh, you've lost my respect, or I'm going to unsubscribe, like, those are things that I value. I don't value your subscription. I like subscribers. I like views probably more than subscribers. But there's plenty of people. I mean, probably I have one of the lowest retention rates on YouTube. Like, I've had, 110 million views or something like this, and over 200-something thousand subscribers, plus all the people who are unsubscribed by YouTube. I mean, I could have 500 subscribers, and some of the views were videos I've deleted, so I could have even more views. And I only have about 5 to 10 to 15,000 regular subscribers. And people who really, they're not watching every one of my videos, but maybe it's 20, right? Be generous. Out of all those views, only 20,000 people still want to watch me, right? So people are leaving all the time. And partly is because I push people away. Partly is because I provoke people. Like, I've always done that. I don't say something that's untrue, but I say things in a way that I know is going to provoke people. And I know the different demographics and groups of people that watch me. And, when somebody gets butthurt or complains, I usually go harder on the subject, right? Like, have you not seen the way I handle these things? Because it's funny to me. And it's like almost like, I don't want to call it hazing, but it's, the price you have to pay. It's like you got to take some lumps. Like, I don't give this stuff away for free in that sense. Like, I know that eventually you're going to get bummed out by something I say. Only a handful of people have never been bummed out or had their feelings hurt by me criticizing something that they believe in and saying something that, making fun of something that they believe, or making fun of something that, they fell for or whatever, whether it be the QBs or the other things or the Flubies. And the Flubies were a group of people I don't want here. I made it perfectly clear. If you're a Flubie, I don't want you here. I don't respect your opinion. You're wrong because I've had COVID. I know you're wrong. It's a biological weapon in terms of my, experience with it. It sucked. I've had it 3 times, and I've had residual side effects from it. And, it is what it is. So the first part where this person is, monetizing these two things, their trust and like I have value in a person I don't even know. I've never heard it from this person before. It might be somebody's just dropping a trolly comment or whatever. But I had a lot of these legitimate people who were Flubies who liked my videos, and they felt there was some quality content and they liked me or whatever, and I did something to violate their trust. And they have this, misperception that I'm sitting around when I make a video thinking, well, I hope I don't violate anybody's trust, and I don't lose anybody's respect, and I don't, they don't find me credible anymore. I don't care. Like, none of those things are why I make the videos. I'm not making the videos for trust, to gain trust from you. I'm not selling you something. I'm not, trust is something you want from somebody when you want something from them, right? When you want them to believe in you, right? When you want them to, usually people who are looking for your trust are going to betray it. They're trying to con you into trusting them so they can take advantage of you. Like, I don't care. I don't want to be responsible for any of your decisions or any of your, one of your BS or any of the rest of it. So I don't want you to trust me. It's stupid to. You don't know me, right? Like, why are you going to trust me? There's no reason for you to trust me because there's nothing that I'm advising people on. I'm not selling anything. I talk about doing the Gratefullness meditation, but it's only for people who can rise up to it and do it. I don't want, people doing it because they trust me. I want them doing it because they benefit from it, like I did. like they have to have their own separate relationship with the gratefulness practice and the system and God and whatever it is. So I'm not selling that or anything else. So there's no reason for anybody to trust me. Trust is not something that's a part of my agenda here or something I want or think about. The second piece is credibility. I don't even know what that means, right? I mean, it certainly doesn't mean something to me, your credibility or you thinking I'm credible. Again, it's not like I sit around going, oh, wow, what can I say to gain people's trust and make them think I'm credible? I wonder should I say that I had COVID, even though I didn't? And then maybe people would trust me and they would think that, I'm credible, right? Like, you think that's what no, I got COVID and I told you I had COVID. Right? Like, I mean, that's what happened. I got something and, I realized, hey, this is COVID. I didn't know whether it was real or not till I got it. And I was like, oh, this sucks. And it wasn't like anything you could possibly imagine in terms of like, it was weird. It wasn't like it was, I've talked about before, I'd be perfectly fine and I'd go to bed and it would flare up again. And every year around this time, it starts getting into fall now because I've had it 3 times. I had it the first time in the spring and the second 2 times in the winter, back-to-back years. And I had the Omicron thing and whatever thing was before that, I don't know. Omicron and then something after that was more mild and I got over it quickly. But I had issues. I've had issues with my blood sugar since then and, breathing the first COVID. I'd wake up gasping for air. And I slept like crazy with Omicron. Like I lost all like life force for like a day. I couldn't move. I was just in bed. Like I just got tired, more and more tired, and I slept for like 36 hours. And I couldn't even move. Like it was hard for me to get up and get a drink of water or nibble on something or because I wasn't really even eating. And to go to the bathroom, like it would take a tremendous. I just wanted to lay there. It was like I was dead. Like I had no vital life force. This wasn't the flu. It was pretty bad, all of them. Like there was some issues with each time I've had it that were a little weird, a little whatever it was, right? And so that's what happened. You can believe it or not. I don't care. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm talking about what's going on with me and whatever's happening. And one of those things was I had COVID. Part of what I do here, and I don't do it intentionally, it's just natural for my personality to say things to provoke people. And when a group of people comes and they leave stupid comments like the Flubies did or the Cubies did or, they're trying to get me to be like them or they're trying to, influence me or they just leave hostile comments, then I'll just go after them. I'll just talk about them in a way because I want them off I don't want you here. Like, I don't want somebody who believes that to be here and commenting and being a part of what we're doing here. Like, I don't want you here. They used to have like these hazing things they do at ashrams where these young disciples would want to get into the ashrams and the monks or the people, I mean, this has happened throughout history, in different countries, would throw things at the kids, right? Throw things at these plebes and say, get out of here, make fun of them. And they'd sit outside, like in the Fight Club when Brad Pitt was telling Meatloaf that his poops were too big, like that kind of thing. I'm not getting something from you. You're getting something from me, right? Like I have the leverage in this relationship. I'm providing something here. I'm providing something that I know that, in terms of what I've learned from this Sajmarg, gratefulness meditation that I do and some of the information I have and some of these other things and the energy that's here in the videos that has value to me. I had to read books and have experiences and go to India and do, have trips and live life and work in treatment centers and all the things I've gone through, been on a farm and homestead and all the things I've dealt with, my dysfunctional marriage to my first wife, all these things, right? The things that I've endured that now, have made me into something and made me into, a conduit for whatever's flowing through me in this YouTube channel. And some of you guys understand it and appreciate it and benefit from it. And everyone else, this isn't for you, right? This is, you're just a person that, sits outside the door and I throw something at you and you whine and complain and you You say, I'm going away. I'm taking my gifts and leaving you, and you missed out, mister. You know? And I'm like, who are you? Right? Like, I don't know you. Like, you could just be a bot. Like, you're not even a real person to me. Like, I've only met a handful of people. And I don't make videos for subscribers. I don't make videos for, to be told how great I am or any of these kind of things. I don't make these videos for self-esteem. Maybe in the beginning that there was some benefit to those things for success and whatever. Yeah, sure, in the beginning. But now it's not anything to do with that. It's that I feel like, I have something to offer and it's my duty to offer it to people. But I don't have to offer it in a nice way. I don't have to sugarcoat things. I don't have to put a cherry on top for you. I have to make you feel good about it, your egos and your personality. And so if you don't like what I say, you just go. Like, that's all you have to do. You have to tell me. I don't care. I don't know you. I don't even know you're gone. Like, if you didn't say anything here, I would have known you never. I wouldn't even known you existed. It's just, this comment is, as far as I know, the only interaction I've ever had from this person. And apparently, like 3 years ago when I said I had COVID, the person said I lost trust and credibility, and they're still here 3 years later. Whining like a little boop, right? Like, man up and get out of here. Go find your own thing. You don't trust me and you don't feel like I'm credible, then why are you wasting your time here? For God's sakes, have some self-respect, right? Go darken someone else's door. Like, you're not special. You're not great. Nobody's, valuing you, right? At least I'm not. Find somebody that loves you and likes you and wants your company, and that they want to earn your trust, and, they value your trust. Maybe they, then it can be a currency that you can use to manipulate them and lord it over them and control their behaviors, right? Which is, a weak move on your part. And so, okay, I just wanted to set the tone here. Let's get into the rest of this stuff. All right, so this is the following day, Sunday, August 27th, when I'm going to release this video. I started it last night because I had those thoughts about the comment. I just want to add one thing here. Let's say that person was right and I was wrong. They would still suck. Like, everything I just said would be true. Just manipulation and lording something over me, right? Like, when you make a mistake and they use it to grind you down, right? Like, just like you owe them something because you made a mistake or whatever, right? And that still would suck. But it's way worse when the person's just flat out wrong, and I know they're wrong. And all of us who've had COVID know the person's wrong. There are people who had COVID. My son got the last version, whatever that was. It was mild for me and my wife. My wife and I got it each, both at the same time. We had slightly different experiences with it. But, we knew it was something different, and we both had it. I think I had it maybe a little bit worse each time than she did. But, we both got pretty, not the worst cases, but that hospitalization type cases, but pretty bad. And many people would go to the hospital for what we had, right? But my son, he got a mild, version. He's younger, and his lasted a day. And for him, he wouldn't know the difference because it was just like a mild cold. It just was happened that he got it at the same time we did, right? But for, people who got a severe case, it's a weird thing to get. It's like nothing else. It's not like a normal disease. It has bizarre symptoms, which I've talked about over and over again. And it's undeniably something different. And so for people who would say, all right, you didn't have it, it's insulting, and again, I don't get insulted, but it just sucks. Those people suck. Because, I know something they don't know. That COVID exists, it sucks, and what I assume is a biological weapon because it's so weird. It's not a normal, natural disease. And I've had effects for it. It's changed my life in some ways. And mostly for the good, because I think I'm better off now and I've invested in my health, but there are lingering side effects, including things to do with my heart, right? So even my wife had, about a month ago, she had, once in a while you get these heartbeats that skip that I never had before. So, like, that sucks. And that's a part of it, right? And I had people saying I was a shill. Like, somehow the government gave me money for the 10,000 views I get per video to lie and say I had COVID when I didn't. Like, that's what people were accusing me of. These flubies. They couldn't think of any other reality. Or I had the flu and I didn't know better. Which is, maybe not as bad, but still sucks, right? Just, oh, you don't even know what you had. Like, you don't even know your own body and your own experience or whatever. And that's why the flubies suck, because there was no other possibility. That, they, and a lot of them now realize they got it bad, or someone in their family got it bad. And, that was in the beginning, and then the flubies kind of disappeared. But this is like one last holdout, right, who still is, and is going to bring it up 3 years later. Like, so it's so much worse, right? It's worse that he's wrong. It's worse that he's, doing this even this much, later in the game. Like, there's no doubt in his mind after all this time. And just, it's really bad. Like, there's a level of, obstinance and stubbornness combined with stupidity and just always being on the wrong side of things that makes up a big portion of the truth community. It's with the QBs and lots of these extreme groups of the truth community, and they'll never admit they're wrong. They'll never even conceive of it. And they're still like holding out, and they're much worse than sheeple. They're like, I'd rather deal with a sheeple than a QB or a flubie or any of these guys. All right, let's get into the song here. So one of my viewers sent me this on Instagram. Chris Webby, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. North of Richmond remixed, and he's got a YouTube channel called For the Burbs. And so there are a couple of things here. The first part is my son had sent this guy to me a number of times. He listens to this guy. My son's, he's aware of truth or narratives. He has his own opinion on it, but he likes this rapper who is, as if, few things that my son sent me that he has truth or verses. Like, this guy's better than that Tom McDonald guy. Tom McDonald has good stuff in his videos. I just can't stand his rap, but this guy's a good rapper. I don't like Tom McDonald's music, but he's a truther forever. These guys are, people have their different ways of being truthers, but they're truthers, right? And there's a lot of truthers out there that are also musicians and rappers, and they're underground, but this guy gets some millions of views. He's fairly popular. One of my viewers, like I said, sent this on Instagram, and when I first clicked on it, it didn't come up, and I almost didn't even see it, which was weird because there was no context to it. It was just a link, and the link didn't come up the first time. I was like, oh, whatever. It seemed like it was a video that got deleted. But I did something I usually don't do, and I clicked it again. And then I was telling my son about the Richmond, North of Richmond song, and like a couple of days ago. So I sent him this thing, and he finally went and looked at the song, and he liked it. He liked, of course, this song, this guy. But I was also thinking about this, and I was talking to my wife about this yesterday. I was trying to remember what year it was, right? And year of the, and I realized it was year of the boop it. And so I started thinking about, well, there's so many things going on now that I forgot. Every year I have a theme for the year that I say, all right, this year it's kind of like a prediction thing, and I got to write them all down so I can remember the order of their. And each year there's something that's like a highlighted in the show and the beast and people's lives. And I said, this is the year people just say, boop it, and it's kind of happened that way, or it's definitely happened that way. Trump getting indicted 4 times, that's boop it, right? And then all the other things. I mean, you can say that Kennedy's campaign is being run with the boop it, I'll just tell the truth kind of, whatever you believe him or not. You think he's sincere or not. That's like a boop it move, right? It's an F it move. And so I thought about this song, Richmond, North of Richmond, is such an F it song. It's such a, it's like, that's how people are responding. Like, it's just giving up on the government and the voting and, the overwhelming support. It's going to be the number one song this year, but it's like a movement that's happened. There's already 4 quality rap songs the song does well. You need like a hook or a beat for a rap song. And I was thinking about, remember when Vanilla Ice lifted that song from David Bowie and Freddie Mercury, whatever it's called, and that looped it, and it's just to rap over something like that. And this song really lends itself to that. This guy Chris Wiebe speeds it up just a little bit, and it's a really good rap song. It's stands on its own, but it's also a good truther song. And I realized that it was a year of the effort. Then I listened to the song again last night, and there's a line in it where he says, basically, F it, right?
We know how they looking at us from up at the top. The tougher they made it for us, the tougher we got. They thought they'd keep us scared forever, but it, we not. We'll send them back to north of Richmond in some cuffs or a box. Bow.
So I like him smoking a cigarette. But F it, we're not, right? And it's just, there's such an element of the year of the F it in this song and just everything that's going on, the way people are feeling. I'd forgot all about the year thing. Once in a while, people send me and remind me, like, this is such a, F it thing. But just all the ways these campaigns are being run, and, they're like Biden administration talking about lockdowns, or at least there's these rumors that lockdowns are coming back, and, masking up. That's like F it too. Like when going against what people, it's when that people are like rebelling against you and they're just had enough and they just say F it, right? So that happened, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And then later on, there was a reference to F it here again.
Fight in this fight with my words, and if they keep pushing, then we inciting the purge, and just
we're inciting the purge, right? And so, there's nothing more F it than the purge, right? Like the purge is the ultimate F it. But anyways, this is the whole movement with the rap songs is like another level to this song. But add to it, there's a Indian couple here, and I don't know if they are related. They are two people from India. I don't know if they're married or something. But this is Truth for the People. Indians react to Oliver Anthony Richmond. And their channel is named The Loud Guys. Somehow this got recommended to me. And, there's a lot of these reaction songs I've seen. Mostly is from African American people, because I watched one video. Like, there's a lot of reaction songs to this. And almost everybody I've heard loves the song. Some people are moved to tears. I was talking to my wife. She said, like, the first time she heard it, she was, like, in tears, right? And so people are emotionally moved by this song. Because music, this song is channeled in some way. Like, there's a, divine truth in it. Regardless of, it's not, doesn't go deep into it or whatever you want to, call that. We all have our levels of being a truther. But there's just something that, appeals to people. Like everyone, gets it on a different level. And just the melody and the flow to it and its ability to be converted into a rap beat and a rap song and just all these things. And, the outrage that people feel, the emotions that are brought up. And these people are talking about it even in India, right? Watch this guy's face here. As he gets to the Jeffrey Epstein line.
Look out for miners, and not just miners on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street.
Oh. Like even in India, there's like, they know about the Epstein thing.
oh,
Like they're totally,
Is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame.
Wow.
So there he is.
This is a moving song. Wow. The lyrics are so powerful. He's touching the right chords. Wow. Wow.
A beautiful song it was.
This was one of the most moving songs I've ever heard, because the lyrics were so resounding. And the second paragraph where he said, I know, I have heard about this person. This is, I think, Jeffrey Epstein, who is known for keeping minors on an island. And I think so. Do let me know if I am talking right or not, because this was one man who used to keep these minors on an island. He was talking about them, that how rich guys can do anything, and like they do not keep like welfare of the minors. They
So, so my wife and I enjoyed this. My wife went to India with me too, so there's a connection here. But having this guy explain Jeffrey Epstein was like the highlight of my day yesterday, right? So that happened. Then these guys react to the same line here.
And not just miners on an island somewhere. Lord, we got
And so they reacted there.
taxes ought not to pay for your bags of
Man, bro, I
Oh
didn't
my
want to stop
God.
it, bro. Oh my goodness,
Bro, I was
man.
trying not to. You know how like we used to do like, oh my god,
Bro, this man is spitting on
oh
her,
my
bro.
god.
You know, there's just this universal appeal to the song. And there's just all these videos, reaction videos, and you know, people watching it for the first time. And what everybody says is it's better than they anticipated. Like they heard how great it was. I never heard anybody say, "Oh, this is a disappointment." You know, because it's channeled. Like there's just, you know, like this is a kind of a warning song, or like a, you know, a moment of truth where something, you know, something that's channeled that comes from a divine place. And I believe all music, all art, at least has some aspect of being channeled. It doesn't have to be from a higher place. It can be from like a demon, right? Something lower. But people don't have, you know, when you're really in the flow of the creative process, there's a connection to something beyond you. And there are times where it's just coming from a like real higher place, like a, you know, and in this case, it's not just the, you know, the lyrics, it's the song itself. It's like the whole thing. You know, somebody just has a like a pure message coming from like an etheric place. And it's resonating on that level. Like it's across the board of demographics and, you know, different levels of awareness is just hitting home with people. And it's created this, you know, movement and emotional movement in people. So I saw a few articles about this guy. Like things have been coming up on my feed because I've watched the video, you know, more than once. And this is a, you know, an article from Yahoo. Oliver Anthony, it's aggravating to see politicians try to identify with me. I'm disappointed to see, like, it's aggravating to see people on the conservative news try to identify with me, like I'm one of them. It's aggravating seeing certain musicians and politicians act like we're buddies and act like we're fighting the same struggle here, like we're trying to present the same message. It was funny seeing my song at the presidential debate because it's like I wrote the song about those people, you know. So for them to have to sit there and listen to that cracks me up. But it's funny kind of seeing the response too. The song has nothing to do with Joe Biden. It's a lot bigger than Joe Biden. The song was written about the people on the stage and a lot more too. Not just them, but definitely them. It's hard to get the message out about your political ideology and your belief about the world in 3 minutes and some change. But I do hate to see the song be weaponized, like see the right trying to characterize me as one of their own, and I see the left trying to discredit me. I guess it's retaliation. The boop's got to stop. Elsewhere in the video, Anthony addressed the criticism from the left for his Richmond lyrics, the abuse of milk and welfare, and using tax dollars to buy fudge rounds. If you listen to my music, it's obviously all of my songs that reference class, defend the poor. Don Gone is a good example. The needles in the street, folks surviving on the sidewalks, next to highways full of cars, self-driving. The poor keep hurting, the rich keep thriving. That's what I like to sing about. And so, you know, it's interesting. I probably find this video somewhere here. This is the video here where he talks about that. It's a pleasure to meet you, part 2. Apparently there's a part 1. And so he, you is addressing this idea of they're trying to make this a Republican conservative white guy song, but you see people are responding to it in different demographics. In fact, I've seen, I think, about 4 or 5 videos now where people who are outside of we had the Indian couple, and then I've seen at least 4 videos with African American people who love the song. One woman is just weeping, like she's just crying, like when she hears it. It's something that's universal, and it's not based in demographic, and it's not, something that's political. So I couldn't find the part of the debate. If anybody has that clipped, please send it to me, where they play this song. But I knew that they would do that. And they're so superficial. Like all those politicians that are debating, the Republican politicians are all, they just don't have it, right? They flirt with truther narratives, but they're not truthers. I slammed the Vivek guy in my last video on my other channel. I got a clip of him being douchey all the way back in high school. Like it's not something new. He's been like that his whole life. But them trying to make this song about them, and he's obviously somebody who's a left-right paradigm person that's talking about all politicians, and that he's writing from the state of the poor in the country. But we all have our different ways of, wherever we are in our own level related to what we call the truther narratives, our relationship to the idea that the official story is wrong. And, whatever we think about that we're being lied to. And, I don't know what the real actual numbers are, but I would say it's up above 60% now that people are at some level of being a truther, where this song strikes a chord to people. And again, some people, this is about Joe Biden because they're so limited and, in their ability to perceive. But this guy's obviously a left-right paradigm person who sees that both are controlled. And, people are responding to it in that way, right? Like they're responding to it on the level that they're at. Like it resonates with them no matter what level you're on, which is, the sign of something being like a divine message, right? There's energy there and consciousness coming from a higher place, and it has an effect on people. Like it's something where, it's a moment of truth where people are expressing, this is their dissatisfaction with the power structure in an emotional way. Like, people have mental ideas that are, mental in nature, but this resonates on a heart level, and it's a warning sign to the middle management people. Like there's politicians and there's, the people that are the news media people, and they're the ones that are at risk when things go south. They're like human shields, and they should realize, hey, they think that we're the real power. People, are going to mistake us for the power behind the throne, and we're being used right now. And the hate and the mob. If the mob goes south, that's who's going to get it, right? That's who's going to be on the receiving end of whatever happens if things break down completely. And we're on the verge of that, right? This election, there's going to be outrage and whatever it is, right? Joe Biden gets elected again, there's outrage. If Trump gets elected again, it's outrage. It's whoever loses is going to be not accepting the results. If Kennedy, something like that, there might be a different outcome. But if either of those two people are elected again, we know what it is. Like people who, some people know both things, both people. Some people see both people the way they are. But at least half the people see Trump in the negative light, which he is. And then people on the left people on the right see Biden in a negative light. And they'll be in disbelief and will be backed into a corner seeing that happen. Like, how could this happen again? How are you guys going to allow either of these two people to be elected again? The division and the hatred and the outcome. And so let's get into that. That's what I want to talk about with the Trump mugshot. Okay, so some things happened. I'm in the editing process. I've completed most of the rest of the stuff here. I just have to go through and edit 2 of these clips, and then I'm going to get this video out. And I was doing work outside. It's hot, and my wife and I went shopping, and we listened to this video here, and it's worth listening to. This guy's explanation, and his clearly someone, is a truther and whatever that means for him. But he's a left-right paradigm guy, and an interesting 10-minute video giving context to the song and some of his other work and some of the stuff he's gone through since becoming, basically a worldwide famous person. The other thing is, for about a month or 2, people have been sending me stuff about this guy, Dr. Shiva, probably about a month. And I looked at something a while back. I didn't really have time to pursue it. I didn't really like the guy's energy, which I'll get into on a video tomorrow. But people have been sending me stuff a lot the last couple of days. And, I've looked into him. My wife and I listened to him. I, didn't have a positive opinion of his, whatever he was, his condition things. I'll discuss that when I can show the videos. But I'll get into that tomorrow on my other channel. I'll lead off with that. And so, my Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies, Apocalypse Now channel. So, anyways, I just want to mention those 2 things and then move on to the rest of the stuff here. But you can stop sending me links because I've already looked into it now. And, that's why I'm putting that in this video. MAGA and Democrats wearing the same Trump mugshot merch. Right? That's a wonderful left-right paradigm meme there. Where, 2 Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. Liberals wearing a Trump mugshot t-shirt. Conservatives also wearing a Trump mugshot t-shirt. And this happened. I'm going to break this down in a moment. But here it is. It says, Trump's mugshot fuels liberal delight and GOP fundraising and becomes an instant political artifact. It is what it is. I took a mugshot, Trump said on Thursday night. In this picture. And it looks so staged. It looks like a higher level than these other, I'll show you the other mugshots here. It's these people here. See the mugshots in Trump's Georgia case, Meadows, Giuliani, Powell, Ellis, Cheesebro, and others. And so there's Trump's, and you can see his head's much bigger here. Like it's a much bigger close-up than this guy. This guy had like a black eye or something there or whatever. Giuliani, just like, at least his face isn't melting. Jenna Ellis trying to smile, but And this dude here looking serious. And then Sidney Powell, my God. Talk about crazy homeless lady, right? Like you expect her should be walking down the street with a grocery cart. She was the, the Kraken lady, release the Kraken, which she never released. So here's the hammer guy, and I want to go in on the hammer guy and then get back to the whole mugshot thing here. But let's listen to this first.
We now have the first mugshot ever taken of a former president of the United States. Here is Donald Trump's mugshot, which will instantly become the most famous mugshot in the history of photography. The mugshot of the 45th president of the United States will go from tomorrow's newspapers into our history books, where the only presidential mugshot.
Where they got these inverted crosses, diagonal inverted crosses, where stars should be. It's a weird logo they got there because these are close to being inverted, like an upside down cross, which is a satanic symbol.
Will live forever.
No, it's not. Live forever? Like this guy's such an ass clown. It's going to have a shelf life about a month, and they'll come back every once in a while. There are a lot of memes about it and all these things. But, it's not going to live forever. In a million years, we're going to be talking about this mugshot. What are you talking about? America's not going to last forever. This is going to be easily forgotten. In 100 years, this won't exist at all. Like, it just won't be here. Nobody will remember this. Nobody will care about it. This guy's talking about like this mugshot heard around the world, right? Like it's important.
American high school history students will be looking at that photograph for hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years. Hundreds of years are going to be looking for this, right? Think about who was the president 100 years ago? Does anybody know who that is off the top of their head? Like, if you do, answer. If you know without looking it up on Google, if you know who the president was 100 years ago off the top of your head, answer. Because I want to show how few people know that, right? Without searching it on Google. Because I don't know. I couldn't even take an educated guess. I don't know. Like, perhaps, I don't even know. Roosevelt, I guess. Would that be it? Just because of that time period? And, Roosevelt was president like 4 times. So that would be like, just a guess. Like, not a. And then what about 200 years ago? Like who? Abraham Lincoln? Because that's who you know. Somebody like that, right? And so, they're just guesses. And, 200 years, no one's going to care about this. You remember the hero presidents. You're not going to remember the ones who were infamous and slammed in the mainstream media. And history isn't going to be kind to Trump. But we've already forgotten about Nixon. Nixon gave this pose where he put up peace signs, and that's barely a memory. Like he left the White House as a resigned, disgraced president, and he held up 2 peace signs in a weird way. I don't know if that's the same event, but that was like an iconic photo. Mike Dukakis put out a helmet. He looked like a little boy playing dress up, and that was a big photo, right? There's been these big political photos, and they fade, especially when they're, memes fade. And this clown, right?
That mugshot will define the low point in the history of the American presidency. That mugshot will soon be everywhere in our lives.
This guy talks dramatically and with like gravitas he doesn't have. Like, I don't know who listens to him. He still has a show, so he sucks at his job.
It will be on T-shirts, coffee mugs, napkins, toilet paper. This Christmas, you will see people give and receive gifts with that mugshot on them. Artists will create their own Andy Warhol-like renditions of that mugshot. We are still publishing biographies of Abraham Lincoln 158 years after he was assassinated.
So that's 158 years ago. And so I don't have any clue of 200 years ago who the president was, right? This guy, like, he's so sucky. Like, he just sucks at his job. Coming out big, and like he does this with everything Trump, right? Like, Trump will be a distant memory in 20 years. People forget about Trump altogether. And, he's fading fast even now. But let's go to this guy. I want to do his whole thing here. Let's go to and take a little break from the Trump mugshot. I want to get back to that. But let's do the Hammer Boy thing, like this whole Hammer rant.
Demanding to know, where's Nancy? Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it?
I don't know.
Where's the hammer? Is it on go up on the other floor? Somebody go up there and stop the hammering. Stop the hammering. Call Griffin. I don't care who the to call. Stop the hammering. Empty out the goddamn control room and find out where this is going on. It's either there or out there somewhere. Out of control. Jesus Christ. Crazy sound coming in my ear. This stupid hammering. I told you why I wanted those words cut. It just sucks. It sucks to be out here with this out of control. Any thing can come into my ear at any moment. These things. How do you say this guy's last name? Demanding to know, where's Nancy?
Now, this is how he treats his coworkers. Imagine pitching a fit like this with your coworkers. Somebody leaked this tape, and this guy has an existing show. It isn't like the network itself wanted to burn the guy. because they want him to be on there. It's a MSNBC didn't release this thing to screw the guy after he left, like a Tucker Carlson thing, like what happened with Tucker Carlson. And so somebody on the show had a beef with this guy and clipped this, got a hold of this embarrassing tape of him abusing his fellow employees and being just an absolute boop. I mean, a B word and a C word, right? Like he's just a little whiny little boop. And so him being like this tells you everything you need to know. And the fact that you're seeing it tells you what his coworkers think of him. Like they want to show people. Like this happened to Bill O'Reilly years later, like after he left Inside Edition. But this was released. This guy's only had a show for 3 or 4 years probably. And so this was released fairly soon after he did it, after he perpetrated this crime on his coworkers. And everything you need to know about this guy is this little tantrum he's having. Because this isn't how he behaves once in a while. He's entitled, right? And the other thing is he's yelling at people who have nothing to do with the hammering. He's upset that somebody's hammering. And that means there's construction going on somewhere in the building. And the way vents work, you can be in a building and you can pick up conversations 10 floors up just because something's traveling down a vent or, it's just the way acoustics works in these big buildings or even houses. It's weird that way, but there's some, vibrational connection between places that are far away. So somebody was working somewhere and there was construction, which happens at these, office buildings. And it might not have anything to do with, this is 30 Rockefeller Plaza. I don't know where MSNBC is. This is part of NBC News. I don't know where his studio is. But this might not have anything to do with the network. It might be some other renter in a building or something that they have no control over. But the people he's yelling at don't know anything more about the hammering than he does. And they're not the ones ordering the hammering. He makes it sound like they're to blame for it. He's yelling at his coworkers just arbitrarily, all of them, and, pitching a fit and demanding somebody take action like it's their fault and they have the power to stop the hammering, right? Like he's just mad at the wrong people. He's not mad at the people who are doing the hammering or the people responsible for the hammering and the whole thing. And we don't hear the hammering because they have, sometimes my dog's barking, you don't hear them. And there's times things are going on outside. There's like lawnmowers, my neighbor's, lawnmower, or my wife might be vacuuming and, all these things. There might be some noise going on. And I keep on going because I'm a professional. Right? Like I make sure my mic's not picking it up, and it almost never does. And if it's not picking it up, I can just keep on doing what I'm doing and ignore the sound and concentrate on my job, which is to talk about stuff. And I can do it without pitching a fit, right? And if I have to wait for some noise, like if it's distracting me, I go do something else. I just take a little break or whatever. This guy, I don't pitch a fit. I don't like, oh my God, man, stop the hammer. You're like this crybaby, right? Well, I don't whimper, So everything you need to know about the hammer guy is encapsulated by this thing that was released. It's funny. I always make fun of it, but it shows you what a narcissistic piece of boop he is. He's a horrible person. His coworkers hate him. They leak this tape. They don't want to work with the guy because he's like this. He loses it over a small thing, and shows his entitlement, his superiority, and the whole world's supposed to stop when he does his horrible job on his show, and he makes these bold statements about a mugshot, things like that aren't close to being true. And he's obsessed with Trump, and he's the same guy. I talked about this with Alec Baldwin. Trump's a narcissist, and so is Alec Baldwin. Like, this guy's a narcissist, and, they're all narcissistic. They're all horrible people. But Alec Baldwin and the hammer guy, Lawrence O'Donnell, are specifically like Trump. There's just some, connection they have. Very similar in their way that they treat people and see the world, and their obsession with themselves and their own, myopic view of the world. And they don't even know it. Like Lawrence O'Donnell and Alec Baldwin have no idea that they are Trump, right? You know, like Trump and Biden are the same guy, and these guys are all the same guy. Very similar personality configuration and way of being in the world, how they are as a person in the world. They're all very similar. And their hatred of Trump, Alec Baldwin's and the Hammer guy, is laughable because they're the same guy. And, you know, like there's, you know, what they hate in Trump is stuff that they don't even know exists in themselves, but they hate it about themselves and they don't even know it. Completely oblivious to it. And so it's just, this guy's a total piece of boop in every possible way, shape, and form.
We will still be publishing biographies of Donald Trump 158 years from now and 300 years from now.
No, you won't. Like, that's ridiculous. America will either be done or they would want to move on from Trump. And him saying this, Donald Trump is a person who is the focus of these news media clowns. And he's trying to make his job of focusing on Trump, because everything that I've seen from this guy has Trump in it. There's not one clip I've seen from this guy, and I've seen about 30 that, I've mocked this guy maybe 30 times. And there's not one time I haven't seen Trump in it. He's all about Trump. He includes Trump on every one of his episodes. And his big claim to fame is he called Trump out before anybody else. Like, he was on Trump in the very beginning. He hated Trump before anybody else hated him. He's like, where somebody says first on a video or whatever on social media. He thinks he's first and getting to the Trump derangement syndrome, or what they call it. Like, he's the first guy. And he loves, more than the rest of these guys, he loves talking about Trump. His show is, Trump is the focus or the center of his show. And he wants to, he then goes down in history. If people are still crapping on Trump 150 years from now, he'll be first. It makes him relevant. Like, that's his narcissism, right? It makes his obsession with Trump not be so creepy and weird and just embarrassing because he's the same guy. Like, they have very similar personality types. But Trump is going to disappear because they always disappear the villains. Like, he's not going to be considered a Hitler. They're going to talk about this guy as being a dope. Trump is going to be a dope. And, their obsession with him, that they're going to want that to disappear. Like, they're going to, so at some point, people at these news media agencies, if America's still going in 10 or 15 years, will want to erase this period. Like, they'll be embarrassed by it. Or, the farther they go down this road of, this like, this, whatever it's called, yellow journalism or whatever it's called. This, this jaded, unobjective journalism where they just come out and they lay it on thick and hard and, just the BS. They're going to want to forget about this period. And this guy was going to be erased as quickly as they can. When the Trump era ends, these guys will all disappear because they won't have anything to focus on. Like, his show will jump the shark as soon as Trump is in jail or dead, or, he loses the election, he disappears. At the end of 2024, one way or another, unless Trump's president, this guy is done.
And each of those books will contain that mugshot.
Because they're going to be picture books because of idiocracy. They're going to have lots of pictures. They're going to be board books.
That mugshot will eventually be seen by more people than any other picture of an American president. Most of us carry pictures of American presidents.
No. Oh, you mean, money? Sure.
In our pockets every day. George Washington on the $1.
Okay, so the number one piece of propaganda, the number one, the dollar bill is the number one piece of paper that people circulate around the world. More people have seen a dollar bill than any other piece of paper, any other, it's a form of almost advertising. This guy right here. You ever see this guy's wife, his dudish wife, Martha? Take a gander at Martha. This is Martha, this dude right here. I mean, right here, this guy. So somebody who looks like pretty much a dude. Just thought I'd throw that in there, but there's no way you're going to replace this. You know, this mugshot is going to have at most a 2-year life, but its big life is right now. Like, this video is late. My video is late to the party. So I should have released this. Not that I should have, because I have a schedule. And I wasn't going to put it in my Hollywood Celebrity Dropping Like Flies on my other channel. But that was the time to release my video here about his, Donald Trump's mugshot. And so it's already fading in the news. Its biggest day was the day that it dropped, the next day. The next, it had a 2-day period of its being focused on.
Bill, Abraham Lincoln, on the $5 bill. 100 years from now, when we might live in a basically cash-free society when almost all payments are electronic, people will see Donald Trump's mugshot more often than they will see those pictures of George Washington and Abraham.
That's like, your prophecy is so off. Like, just how wrong could you be, right?
Abraham Lincoln that we carry in our pockets now.
Like, he doesn't realize how quickly things fade in the mainstream media. I mean, that's the good thing about it for people. If you just wait it out, your story will disappear. Stories have a month-long shelf life, not even a year. And then if they keep on focusing and bringing it back up, the media, but nobody listens to the media. They have viral things have a life of their own. And, people who are getting these T-shirts of Trump mugshot, they'll fade and be thrown away. And then it'll be nothing, right? In 20 years, this will be, people won't talk about this at all. And there's going to be big things happening that are going to erase the whole Trump era. People aren't going to care about Trump and Biden when things start going south. When they steal your Social Security away from you, or there's some kind of massive event that's predicted, like in the Whispers of the Brighter World messages that I talk about from my spiritual practice, these predictions, events, cataclysms, if there's things like that happen, or World War III, amongst them. Like, they drop nuclear weapons, no one's going to care about Trump's mugshot. If you're starving to death and there's no food, or the American dollar collapses, there's martial law, no one's going to care about Trump's his mugshot. Like, this guy.
Hundreds of years from now, history students around the world will be staring at that mugshot, staring into the eyes of Donald Trump.
No, that's you. That's you in your narcissistic love for him. The narcissist in you who loves Trump and is obsessed with him in a hateful way, right? In a whole hateful way that you get a boner from your hate. Like he's just obsessed with this guy, right?
And wondering what they see. What they should see,
they're bringing it in here,
is fear. Donald Trump's fear of what can happen in a country where no one is above the law. What they should see is stupidity. The stupidity that made
So he's telling them what they should see in the future, because he knows Trump better than anybody.
Donald Trump a criminal defendant. And they should see hatred. Donald Trump's hatred of the integrity of the institutions and the people who forced him to endure the humiliation of that mugshot.
Wow, this guy, he's going for it, right? He really went for it.
Unlike his predecessor, President Obama, and most other presidents, Donald Trump has not chosen a presidential portrait artist to paint his portrait. Like the many portraits of previous presidents that hang in the White House now, tonight, in a snap, a booking camera in Fulton County, Georgia, created Donald Trump's presidential portrait.
This is who we are. The last word with Lawrence O'Donnell. This is who we are. there was a thing to do with RFK Jr. being censored, which I was going to get to, but I'm not even going to do this because of how long these other two pieces have run here. Just these two stories about Richmond, north of Richmond, and that's Lawrence O'Donnell is included in that, and they're all going to be swept away by the. Well, I'll come back to that in a moment. Let's just end with this Trump thing first. And so this mugshot is so staged, and it shows you everything to do with Donald Trump, right? Well, let me show you this one thing here first. This is a clip I saw from MSNBC that's more honest about Donald Trump.
Something he has actually pursued intentionally as a strategy, and I would say the mugshot is merely the latest example of this.
And you take this on head on in a new column where you address the conventional wisdom that he can't lose a primary, can't win a general election. Again, how can all these things be true at once?
It is wild, John. If you look at three of the most recent polls that got a lot of traction, the conclusion would be, and by the way, the caveats apply, right? Polls or snapshot polls can be outliers, but if you just look at those recent polls, you would conclude that Donald Trump cannot win a general election and he cannot lose a primary. And it's really hard to dispute that. So there was an AP poll that came out a week or so ago that showed that 53% of Americans would not vote for him under any conditions in a general election, which that's rough. It's hard to win a general election if 53% of the voters start off saying they would never vote for you. Of course, Trump found a way in 2016 to pick the lock of the Electoral College and win anyway. But this poll showed even more, I think, concerning for Donald Trump is that in addition to the 53% who say they won't vote for him, there's another 11% who are highly unlikely to vote for him. So it becomes very difficult to win. At the same time, John, as you know, we've seen poll after poll that shows that he is dominating the Republican primary and winning by something like 40%.
So
I've been saying this for a while with Trumpers, and I said this with the Cubies and the people watching who enjoyed the movie from the Tim Ballard movie, the Sound of Freedom, that to get anything done, you're going to have to deal with your enemies. But everything's so polarized that the left thinks the right's evil. Like, it's gotten to that point where there's just this idea that the other side has to be erased. The right thinks the left's evil, the left thinks that the right's evil, and they're both kind of right, and they feel like the other side has to be erased. And rather than fix the problem, rather than fix the system, which can't be fixed, so it's, I've talked about this before, rather than fix the system, like they would rather destroy their enemy than save America. Like, that's how bad it's gotten. You have right-wing people who've always been the warmongering party. The Republicans have always been about the military-industrial complex, pride in our military, and they're rooting against the Ukrainian support, the American-supported Ukrainian effort against Russia. There's people on the right who are actually rooting for Putin. Right? I didn't mean to rhyme that. They're actually rooting for Vladimir Putin. And, it's like that. It's gotten that bad. The enemy of your enemy. And so there's no coming together between these groups. But that represents a huge problem because the Democrats and the Republicans each have about, between 38 or, between, depending on what you think of a Democrat or Republican, it only makes up about 38 to 40% of the possible voting base. You understand this, that the Democrats only about have 40% or even 30% hardcore Democrats, right? Trump, you got 25-30% of hardcore Trump supporters, and that's a lot of people. It's millions upon millions of people. It's 50, 60, 70 million people, whatever it is. I mean, in terms of the possible voters, and it's even less than that because These are people who can actually vote or who will vote. So let's call it 50 million people of real diehard Trump supporters. And then you have, people who lean to the right, lean to the left, but they're independents. And then you have people who are just out and out independents who, aren't. I mean, there's people like me who are left-right paradigm people who aren't going to vote at all, but there's, people who are independents that are probably going to vote, but they're not Democrat or Republican. And the independents, the majority of those people will not vote for Donald Trump under any circumstance. They would never vote for Trump. And that's 53%. Now, polls can be rigged, and, I don't believe in polls, but I believe in this one. I believe that there's 53% of people, the majority of people, and it's only 3%. It's 3% of the people that Trump would have to win over, really 4%, giving him, a majority. If he could get it down to 49%, then he would have a chance, right? And of course, the Democrats always win the general election. There's more people in the cities. The way that the electoral college is, Republicans have some advantages in the electoral college, but Democrats have advantages in the popular vote. And so for Trump, there's a solid 53% out there that won't vote for him. And I believe there's another 11% that don't really want to vote for him. And that's a, overwhelming hurdle to overcome. The problem for the Democrats is Joe Biden's going to have very similar numbers. And the hatred for Joe Biden, certainly the Trumpers, but the independents, and, he's senile. And I mean, there's enough people out there where you might have such a low voter turnout of those independents and people like that. And it's hard for them to win an election with low voter turnout. The Democrats have to get as much voter turnout, again, whatever it being rigged or not, or those kind of things, which I'm not discussing here. But talking about it being a legitimate election, you have two candidates that negatives are so high, and the polarization has happened so deeply that there's two effects to this. One, it's hard to elect a president because, you're going to have a very depressed voter turnout. As much voter turnout as there was in the past election, or at least what they claim to be there just won't be that. And Donald Trump has gotten a lot more hated, and, people just want him to move on. And I'm talking about Republicans. I'm talking about certainly people in the truth community. There's people who voted for Trump before that just won't vote for him because of what he's done post the election, and people just want to move on. And there's enthusiasm behind Kennedy that used to be Trump people. There's a lot of Trump people who are now, that are pushing for Kennedy. And so Trump, doesn't have the support he did. His base has become, more entrenched in him. They're more locked into Trump than they were before. But that doesn't translate to numbers. It doesn't translate to winning a general election. I think the bigger piece here is one of the reasons they said Trump had to go. And they got, Republicans on board. They're already on board because they want, Trump out. The Republicans don't like Trump. Old school Republicans and the neoconservatives that are now running Joe Biden. The neoconservatives made a deal with Joe Biden to undermine the Trump election, right? We know that now. Kennedy has documented this, but you can find it in, regular mainstream news articles that the neocons who were disgraced after their handling of the George Bush debacle, the big event 2001, and all the subsequent wars, and just getting everything wrong and destroying countries and wreaking evil all over the world. And they were disgraced, but they didn't stay disgraced for long because they started making it into the Obama administration. And then they're running the foreign policy of the Biden administration, right? And they're failing and just, destroying America, all these things, right? But in terms of one of the reasons they said Trump had to go was because there was going to be riots. Remember the BLM riots and the Antifa riots, and, they were staged to whatever extent, but they said that that's what was going to happen if Trump got elected again. And there was a consensus in the powers that be that they had to get rid of Trump. But now, if Biden gets elected again, there's probably going to be riots, and real ones. This is where, the Oliver Anthony song. I mean, people are just had enough, right? One thing here, and this is probably the most important thing I say here, and I've said it in different ways, but it's, this is a quotable thing. And that is, the truth and our system cannot coexist. That when the truth comes out, more and more truth comes out, the closer we are to destruction, right? I mean, people love these songs and they love people love waking up or whatever it is, and they feel like there's a solution there, but there's none. The solution isn't to save the system. We can't all wake up and then have the system go the way it's going. I've said this so many times before. You need sheeple, people who blindly go along with the system, because the system in itself is a lie. The money has no real value. It's just a construct and a deceptive one. And the hedonistic aspect of our system, the materialistic aspect, if everyone became connected to God internally, our system would collapse. If we had an internal relationship with God, that's why religions had to be corrupted. Religions had to be twisted into some sort of deviant materialistic organizations that disconnected you from God. And so natural people who are connected to God, who are functioning, connected to nature and functioning in a natural human being a fully functioning human being who's connected to nature and also connected to God, you're repelled by this system. You have a natural aversion to it. Old souls that have been here longer, had more experience than planet Earth, they don't want any part of the system. They've already gone down this road, and it led to disastrous results for their soul and their spiritual path. And so people who have, more lives here, more experiences here, like in a video game, more turns, more tries at this, this video game we call Earth, and, they want no part of it. And so, the system cannot endure truth. The system cannot, cannot survive if truth is there. The only way the system flourishes is when lies are present and truth is diminished. The system can't survive God. When you bring God into something, the system can't tolerate it, right? It's like a, kryptonite. Truth and God are kryptonite to the system. And so as people wake up and become more aware, they bring more truth. The truth is out there, regardless of its, our ability to affect the system. They can't coexist. And so this is great. Everyone's waking up, and there's, it's a positive movement, but it means the end of the system we're 100% dependent on. And, you have two candidates that, that more than half the people would never vote for under any circumstance. And whoever wins this election, the other side's just going to be over it. And, the other side's just going to be tired of being demonized. If it's Biden especially, if it's Trump, then there's, the media, the social media will inflame everybody, will exacerbate the situation. If Trump's elected again, they will go full civil war on their side. And the right and the people who have been disenfranchised that make up the majority of, the $1 million wealth, right? People who aren't billionaires but are wealthy, upper middle class and things like this. And then people who are armed and people who are ex-military, and the number of people in that group, they're just not going to tolerate another Biden presidency if other things are happening as well. When they start taking away things, or we're on the verge of World War III, I mean, all these things. Like, it's heating up to the extent where it's a very volatile situation, where the election between those two people will wreck the country, right? They can't coexist. And you can see it in the Trump mugshot, because Trump's Trumpers are celebrating his mugshot like he's being defiant, like Trump's kicking ass, and he's not tolerating another fake arrest, another fake indictment. And the left is like, oh, look at this arrogant piece of boop. And they're both wearing Trump T-shirts, which tell you everything you need to know about Trump. He's put in there to be divisive. He's put in there to be, the way he is in terms of creating division. That he infuriates and, he brings fear and anger to his group, and he infuriates the other side. And like Trump is, the catalyst to the destruction of what's left of our system. I mean, he's the focal point of that, right? He's just so selfish and doesn't see the bigger picture. And he's a person who all he cares about is himself and getting elected again. And, he doesn't care how it affects the country. Like if he had any sense of caring about the country or other people, he would just bow out. He would just leave. Because, then somebody could definitely beat Joe Biden and there wouldn't be the reaction, the hatred of Trump reaction. And the left would just lose everything. Like their whole business model at CNN and MSNBC is, hatred of Trump. And the Democratic platform is built on Trump hatred and the MAGA, the MAGA Republican hatred. If you take Trump out of the equation, they just collapse. They are being emboldened by Trump, right? Trump is the center of their universe, and their universe would collapse without Trump. Their universe, their political platforms and their content doesn't make sense without Trump in it. If Trump just disappeared, and I wish he would, he won't. Like that would be the selfless thing to do. The heroic thing to do would be just go away. Realize that, his presidency would just suck. It'll be just, it'll be a dark period. It won't be as fun as the first time he won where, the Rachel Maddows and all those people reacted. And Trump has made it so by being so oppositional, and you can't criticize Trump. Anybody who criticized him became an enemy. It became such an us against them type of scenario that it's just, it's never can be healed, the divide that Trump in part created. The left created with Trump. They worked together to divide the people in such a way that the people could never come back together. Dividing families. People can't even have holidays with their relatives anymore because they used to be able to, not talk about politics and COVID and all these things, but there's such a division now. Like, do you want to sit down with somebody who's gotten the boop, right, when you're one of your relatives? I mean, it's just, these things are, they're deal breakers. Like Biden created all these deal breakers that now exist within families where they can't even sit down and break bread together because of the hatred they have for that side. I got one comment from a Trumper. Let me see if I can find it here. That's not it. The person writes this one here. Paul, I'm not sure I know what QAnon is, quite honestly. I'm a Republican, and I don't care. It's like they, them. So if Trump's life is far busier than mine, then I would believe him. That this is, I'm not sure what this is in reference to in the video. But like, what are you talking about, right? And yeah, it's not that important that you know what Q is and QBs, but it is because it's affected everything. And, your level of knowledge of the thing as a Republican, it's making up all of Trump's support is the passion is there with the QBs, the reformed QBs, the QBs, all these people. It's dominating your Republican Party. So saying you don't know what they are, like, why? I mean, it's such a weird comment, right? And this person sticking there. How are you on my channel is the big question, right? And so, what you would have to do, and I said this before, you're going to have to come together and work together to save the country. The right wing and the left wing would have to come together to save the country, and they can't because, again, it's all lie and deception. But aside from that, division only brings things down. Divorce doesn't, the family gets destroyed in a divorce. And that's, the family in this case is the system. And America's undergoing a divorce. And this mugshot represents everything you need to know. Because one side sees it one way and celebrating it. The other side sees it a different way, the opposite way, and is celebrating that. And it seems like it's a win for both sides. And Trump gives that every time he goes out. He gives his fans what they want, and he gives his haters what they want. And that's why he's unique in that way. Biden has haters, but he doesn't have passionate supporters like Trump does. Hillary had haters, but she didn't have passionate supporters like Trump does. Trump has a passionate base, but even more passionate hatred of him, or maybe it's equal. And these two things are coming together, and Trump sucks, right? He shouldn't be the focus of anything. He's a remedial person. He's his selfishness is really, a criminal selfishness. I mean, it's like an epic selfishness has been evident ever since the COVID debacle and he rolled out Operation Warp Speed. You all should have bailed on him then. Every right-wing Trump supporter should have bailed on Trump, QB, when Trump did Operation Warp Speed. That was enough. That was a moment of truth for you, and you failed it. You failed epically, you Trumpers. Like, Trump should have lost all support because of that. The lockdowns that he did to destroy small businesses and all the things he pushed through with COVID, and then how he handled the election and post-election and turning on his supporters after he riled them up. I mean, all these things were deal breakers, and Trump should be disgraced. And you guys should, erase him as just a bad, like dating somebody horrible or something, right? Like you fell for something and you got duped. The person turned out to be a, cult leading demon, and you're like, oh yeah, that guy sucked. But instead you've loved him even more, which is bizarre, which condemns you as a person. Like your life sucks. You'll never recover from, that mistake. Not the mistake of falling for Trump, but being shown the truth and then falling for him again, even harder. Like all Trumpers should be, like your genetic pool. You're, like you've like failed. Your life is a failure. Like that makes you a failure. You can redeem yourself, but only from a stance that you can never really be trusted to make decisions. I mean, you can't even trust yourself for your ability to judge people and understand what's going on. All the people who saw Trump for what he was and still came back for more. And for whatever reason, maybe because of Biden sucking, or maybe you just, whatever your, reason for it. And you're a part of the problem. You're a big part of it. And then, of course, the liberals and their whole thing. And they're like as big a part or even bigger part of the problem. But that's where we are right now. And this mugshot is indicative of that, division. Anyways, I got to wrap this thing up. I'm losing my voice. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Parvado, definitely reporting for the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.